So this is going to be a long rambling video. Stick with me to the end because I want you guys to give me your opinion down in the comment section below. Now this is going to be a little bit more of a difficult video to make because of you guys, honestly, because of my audience. I mean, I'm a pro-gun guy, pro-constitution. I talk about liberty and freedom and rights and all that kind of stuff. And I'm more right-leaning, more conservative, and because of that, you guys out there, my audience, tend to be the same way. And when we're talking about the subject we're going to talk about in this video, and you guys can tell from the title of the video, we're going to be talking about cops, law enforcement, police officers. There is a very clear divide in this country along political lines, and people who tend to be more right-leaning, for whatever reason, tend to be more pro-law enforcement. And for whatever reason on the left, people tend to be more anti-law enforcement, more anti-authority, even though they go on to vote for politicians and policies and rules and regulations and laws that tend to be more socialistic, that tend to be more authoritative, that tend to control more aspects of a person's life, but then they go on and decide to be anti-authority when it comes to cops. I don't understand that personal hypocrisy over there on the left. I don't get it, but for whatever reason it's there. So it's hard to have a conversation when you want to talk about cops to an audience like what I have. I mean, and I've been very clear about this in the past, I have a healthy, what I feel is very American distrust of law enforcement, of any group of individuals that the government puts out there and says, these people can tell you what to do. That's American to distrust that, to distrust authority. I mean, our country is founded on it. 200 and some odd years ago, the British came in and said, hey, we're going to raise taxes. And we went, oh no, fuck you, boys, get the guns, we're going to war, right? Like, that's what our country is founded on, is distrusting the people that try to control our lives and tell us what to do, right? So I have a very, what I believe is a healthy distrust for law enforcement. Period. I just do. That's just how I am. I don't hate cops. I got cops in my family, 4 of them to be exact. I've got friends that are cops, and many of them see the same problems with law enforcement today as I do. It's not the fault of the individual police officer. It's the fault of the people that are in charge of cops, of this entire movement, from cops being there to protect and serve, which is where they were. And you go back to the late 80s, early 90s, you saw a shift. They went from civil servants paid for by our tax dollars to be there to protect and serve their community to law enforcement. Jackbooted thugs there to enforce the law on behalf of the government, whether that be local, state, federal, didn't matter. They made a very real, distinct turn in this country about 30 years ago. It is a thing that happened. And then after that, we saw the militarization of police. Started up in the 90s, got real big in the early 2000s, and continues throughout this day. We have seen police in this country, again, whether it's your local cops, state cops, federal police officers, doesn't matter. We've seen a very real shift from being there to protect and serve their community to being there to basically do what the government wants them to do, by stepping on our rights, by stepping on us if need be. I was having a conversation with somebody not too long ago, and we were talking about the Philandro Castile case, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, but we were talking about it and going back and forth, and the subject came up of, well, I'm not saying that the cop didn't overreact, but if you find yourself in a situation like that, the best thing to do is put your hands on the wheel, say yes sir, no sir, look straight ahead. If you're going to make any movements at all, inform the police officer exactly what you're doing. Don't make any sudden movements. And I couldn't help but think that is insane, that we are supposed to be subservient to another human being just because they pull us over for a taillight. And if we don't, well, the consequences may be that we die. Like, that's a real thing. That is how some people genuinely feel. And I began to realize this isn't just a problem that our police officers are being indoctrinated and trained to believe they have this authority over other U.S. citizens that they shouldn't have, and that they can treat us in ways that they shouldn't be able to treat us. But the indoctrination is also happening to us. We're being indoctrinated daily to believe that that's okay, that we should be completely subservient to another human being if he pulls us over for a frickin' taillight, right? Like, that's okay nowadays for so many people. And it shouldn't be. This is not right on any level, any way, shape, or form. And I want to go back to saying this is not about individual police officers. Please understand that, okay? Look, most cops out there are good people who want to serve their community, but they're given guidelines by the government as far as what they can and can't do and how they are and aren't supposed to react to certain situations. Yes, there are asshole cops. Yes, there are racist cops, just like there are asshole and racist dentists or accountants or people that work at Safeway, all right? But the vast majority of cops are not assholes, are not racists, but they are doing the job as they were trained to do it. The problem is not the average cop. The problem is the system that's been put in place to use police officers as a means of control over the population, as a means of indoctrination into doing what you're told. This is a much bigger problem than just cops. This has to do with our government, our local government, our state government, our federal government. This is a larger problem. It's been growing consistently for 30 years. Look at the Philando Castile case. Put yourself in the same situation as that officer. You're going up the street, you're talking to somebody for whatever reason. You find out that person has a gun. Okay? You're just having a conversation, you and another citizen. That person reaches in their pocket to grab some gum or a pen or whatever. You put 4, 5, 6 rounds center mass into their chest and put them down like a dog. Guess what? You're going to jail for a long, long time. Doesn't matter if you can say, well, I feared for my life. But this cop, that was his excuse. Everything else across the board, all evidence in that court case, all evidence in the entire situation pointed to the fact that Philando Castile was not reaching for his gun in any way, shape, or form. Yet the cop was able to get away with just saying, well, I feared for my life, even though in the end it proved that there was not really anything going on, that he wasn't going to try and shoot me, that I had no reason to fear for my life. I still, in that moment, feared for my life. So he gets off. Now sure, his life is probably ruined from now on. He'll never work as a cop again, more than likely. If anybody ever finds out his name and what he's done, he'll probably have to change his name, and his family will have to change their names and everything else. I get that, but he was able to get off without going to jail. That's not something that any of the rest of us could have done, period. It just wouldn't have been acceptable, but cops are held to a different standard when they should be held to a higher standard. They have willingly chosen a vocation that is more dangerous, and I absolutely acknowledge that it's more dangerous. Last time I checked, I believe being a police officer was the 14th or 15th most dangerous job in the country. And you may say, well, 14 or 15, that's nothing. That's pretty significant in this country. Over 99% of the rest of the population in this country don't come anywhere close to that when it comes to doing a job that's dangerous. So cops should be respected for having the balls to do what they do, no doubt. But because they made that choice willingly, they should be held to a higher standard of accountability in their actions than the average citizen. And in fact, right now in this country, the reverse is true. They can get away with more things than the average citizen. Again, all of this across the board, the training by the government of police and the authority they have, the fact that we've been indoctrinated to believe we should be subservient to a cop if he pulls us over for a taillight, the militarization of the police, the lack of holding cops accountable, at least as much as they hold average citizens accountable for their actions and being held to certain standards. These are all problems that are getting worse and worse every day. How many times a day now are you seeing videos pop up of some cop doing something that he shouldn't have been allowed to do? This is a problem. And we as people on the right, we as people who are supposed to be pro-liberty, pro-freedom, we need to acknowledge this, and not just for ourselves, for people who care about freedom and liberty, but also for the cops. These people, I truly believe, in general, are good people that want to serve their communities, and we are doing them no favors by not petitioning our government to train them how to do their job differently, to go back to being there to protect and serve, and stop being thugs for the government. We are doing them no favors by allowing the government to use them this way. If you truly are pro-cop, you should be talking to your mayor about your local police. You should be talking to your governor about your state police. You should be writing the president or tweeting him about the way law enforcement in this country in general is being used against its citizens. If you care about freedom, if you care about liberty, if you care about cops, this is something you should be paying attention to. So that's it. That's my rambling video. I want to hear what you guys think. I want you to leave your comments down below and tell me what you think. Am I completely off in your opinion? I don't think I am. I see evidence of this stuff happening every single day, but I want to know what you guys think. So leave that stuff down in the comment section below. So other than that, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you later.